Tonight, Mayor Santiago and Commissioner Ennis will not be here, so we do not have a quorum. So we would still like to have a meeting. It will not be an official meeting, but Commissioner Sui and I are willing to answer any of your questions. We will have a nice informal town meeting here. As usual, we were prepared for the meeting, so we do have some words to say beforehand, but we have to go through some official business to call the meeting to order and then to adjourn the meeting, but it's going to remain on TV. So if everybody at home will keep on watching, we appreciate it. And everyone here, please do not leave. And we're also willing to take call-in calls tonight. So my phone number is 609-501-0808, and Commissioner Sui's number is
609-774-0777, and probably that line won't work tomorrow.
So we will see. So it's going to be informal once we take care of business, and we thank you all for coming out tonight. And this might be the first time there was never a commission meeting, but we'll see if it's the last. I don't know. So roll call, please, Susan.
Mayor Santiago, Commissioner Ennis, Commissioner Perkins-Capari.
Here.
Commissioner Sui.
Here.
Since we do not have a quorum, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Perkins-Capari.
Here.
Commissioner Sui.
Okay, so now it's the informal time. Commissioner Sui, I'm sure you had some prepared statements or whatever you'd like to talk about, so if you'd like to go first.
All right, sure. The first thing I'll talk about, and it was on the agenda to transfer some money around so that we could start working in streets and roads again, a department whose funding was exhausted by a previous commissioner, so we can't buy any supplies, and that will now have to wait 2 more weeks till the next meeting, till we can transfer money to do work. In addition, the bills aren't going to get paid on time. So, in addition, money was going to be transferred to pay attorneys. That's not going to happen. So all that stuff's going to have to wait. All right, on to some good news as soon as I find it here in front of me. Trying to hurry through this part so you guys can ask some questions. The events. Where did I put the events? I don't know where I put the events. Anyway, I'll get on to something else, and when I find the events, I'll explain them to you. We had a resolution set to send stuff to the prosecutor's office, and I'm going to explain why that resolution was prepared. On June 27, 2016, Resolution R188-2016 Water Sewer Termination Notice was introduced and passed by the City Commission. All 4 commissioners voted in the affirmative. Included in the aforementioned resolution was a property with the address of 221 East Broad Street. On July 1st, 2016, a utility installment agreement with the City of Millville was entered into. The purpose of a utility installment agreement is to allow a person or company or business, whatever, to make regular payments and keep their utilities on so that they don't suffer unnecessary hardship. It doesn't happen all that common, but it's not rare. On August 11, 2016, a notification was sent to, in his presence, care of David Ennis, advising that the water installment agreement entered into on July 1st of 2016, which required a payment of $329 plus interest, was not paid by the due dates of 8/1 and 9/1/2016. It further states that the August payment must be made by 8/19/16 to prevent turnoff. Records then indicate, and these are computer records, that on 8/25/16 the water service was turned off due to default on the installment plan. On August 31st, another installment plan was entered into. This is contrary to city policy, and I believe it violates statute. Records indicate that another default letter was sent on 10/3/2016, and once that second plan was entered, the water was turned back on. Records indicate another default letter was sent on 10/3/2016 and was not paid on 10/12/2016. The record further indicates that the water was turned off on 10/12/16. On 10/15/16, Commissioner Ennis called the employee in charge of the water department and instructed the employee to turn the water back on at 221 East Broad Street. This note in the computer records is consistent with cell phone records, the water utility emergency calls and complaints form submitted by the employee who responded to the call to turn the water on 10/15/16, as well as applicable overtime payroll records. This was a Saturday, and therefore overtime was incurred at the expense of all ratepayers of the city. The note also indicates that Mr. Ennis told the employee that that he told the employee that he had called, that he had phoned, that he would be in Monday, October the 17th to pay the balance. He was not. The amount due was eventually paid on Friday, October 28th. A record search was completed by the tax collector to ascertain if this situation had ever occurred prior to this event. The record search didn't find any instance whereby water service was restored prior to the bill being paid. The search did confirm that there were 3 other instances whereby service was restored during off hours when the bill had been paid. At no point in any record is it ever indicated, other than the one that I spoke about, that a commissioner called an employee directly with the department, which he is a supervisor of, and told him to turn the water back on. Now, there has been a complaint filed by an employee in reference to this matter, so I can't discuss this complaint. However, the Criminal Code of New Jersey, 2C30-2 states, official misconduct. A public servant is guilty of official misconduct when the purpose to obtain a benefit for himself or another, or to injure or to deprive another of a benefit, if he commits this act relating to his office, but constituting an unauthorized exercise of his official functions, knowing that such act is unauthorized, or he is committing such an act in an unauthorized manner. And there are other articles of it, but that puts it there. Now, official misconduct of that type is a second-degree crime. And while it's not the duty of this commission to determine if a criminal offense has occurred, which is the reason that this commission should, in my opinion, refer it to the prosecutor's office, that job does belong to the prosecutor and the courts. It is the duty of this commission, under our personnel policies that we adopted, to have employee complaints investigated. What often happens when there is a possible criminal offense coincident with a violation of the administrative law or the administrative code or a city ordinance is that if you were to conduct the investigations at the same time, or conduct the investigation related to employment first, the waters would get muddied. So that's why it's necessary to refer this for criminal investigation first. So that takes care of that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was during the candidates forum. There were several items that were presented as facts that weren't facts. First, I'll address the Clean Communities grant. It was presented that this commission forgot that clean community grants could be used to pay volunteer groups to clean alleys and streets. This is untrue. There was a conscientious decision made by the commissioner who had control of this grant to instead use this portion of the grant to hire part-time workers to clean up state and county roads. When control was then turned over to another commissioner, me, I decided to utilize the grant to again pay the volunteer groups to keep our community clean. Second, the Wheaton property cost of demolition. The property is currently in mediation proceedings with an attempt by the former owner to undo the foreclosure. Now, as with the cost, it was represented that it would cost millions of dollars to tear it down. And the city has an offer to tear down the complex to slab level at no cost. The idea being the company tearing it down will profit from the scrap, and that will more than offset the cost of the contractor to tear the building down. Second, the city will benefit from Clean Communities grants, according to our Clean Communities coordinator, as the grants are based on the amount of recyclables that go out of the community, and you can imagine there's a lot of recyclable material in that facility. So, when mediation is concluded, should we be successful in our efforts to obtain the property, we will advertise for RFPs to demolish the site, and we will see where they come in at. Third, it was represented that the city was paying for the remediation of the pond at the Wheaton facility. That also was incorrect. There is a previously existing agreement that is taking care of that, and the city is not responsible for the payment. Now I'm going to talk about some chatter on social media about endorsing a candidate for a vacant seat. And it concerns the commissioners making endorsements. First, I don't think it's proper for me to make an endorsement here, so I won't do so within these chambers. Second, as a citizen of the United States, I have a right to free speech, and I didn't give that right up when I got elected. And I will never hesitate to exercise that right, to endorse the individual that I think is best for the job at hand. So, to those that are critical of that right, I say in an effort to eliminate this divisiveness that we speak of, just agree with me and then we won't have to disagree. Now, I'm going to talk about divisiveness a little bit, since it seems to be such a talked about issue. I was thinking the other night about a utopia where no divisiveness exists. It's just a literal paradise where nobody argues. And I thought about, I thought like human civilization's been around for, 10,000 years. So there must be a place where there's no divisiveness. So I searched the ancient world, and I couldn't think any. I thought of Greece and Rome, and I figured every other pretty much ancient civilization, pretty much got kind of wiped out, so that didn't work out so well. So then I looked at the modern world, and you know what? Eureka, I found it. I found some societies where there's no divisiveness. There's no dissent within the government. There's no disagreement by the people being governed. And must truly be this utopia of undivisiveness, which some people seek. So the governments present a united front to other governments as well as to their own people. And they're apparently popular with the citizens, because when you watch TV and you see these governments, when their leaders are out, there's thousands of people in the street cheering for them. Thousands. And you don't generally see revolutions in the ones that are successful. So a couple of those countries came to mind to me. But the one that stuck out the most was North Korea. Because, my God, that is a bastion of non-divisiveness. You can't disagree. You can't argue. If you can, you'll probably get a bullet in the head. So be careful what you ask for, folks. Now with that, when I find my events, I'll go back to that.
Okay, progress. All right. Tonight I had a resolution on that was a result of the forensic audit. It was a resolution to send all the findings of the audit over to HUD so they could investigate it. This is necessary. We won't be able to pass it tonight, hopefully at the next meeting. But this is necessary that the findings be further investigated by HUD to determine if the discrepancies that have been found are criminal. The report has now been redacted and is available to the public. Anyone that's interested can submit an OPRA request. The department has begun the process of looking at each of the open loans. The first two that were looked at have already been turned over to collections. The first one that was analyzed, the individual moved to Florida within months of obtaining the loan. This is a clear violation of the loan, and it must be paid, as they must be paid back if you're no longer living in the home. The second loan was also an individual that had moved out of state. This individual received 2 loans, 2 years apart, each time for a new roof. The second loan was $7,900, and there was no paperwork in the record. This individual was also in charge of a grant program in the city and was monitored also by my 5th floor employees. These are just 2 examples of what we found so far, and it's only just the beginning. The problems found in the audit are a reflection of the 5th floor in City Hall. The loans were part of the Planning and Economic Development Office, along with a consultant the city hired as an advisor for the loan programs. 3 previous commissioners had direct involvement in this loan process. These 3 commissioners were in charge prior to me, but they had every opportunity to look at this. It's interesting to me that the public had often questioned the loans that were made with this grant money. I found notes the other day when we were cleaning up the planning office, and it was written that if someone questions the grant process, turn it around and discredit them. Maybe if they had looked at the process and listened to the public back then, none of this would have had to have happened. So that's about the audit. And then it also has come to my attention that there's some rumors making the rounds again about me and my role as a commissioner. I feel it's important that they're addressed because I value my reputation, and the taxpayer and the voters should know the truth. It's rumored that I own Section 8 rental properties in the downtown area. This is not true. I do own 1 rental property with my husband, and it's next door to my house. My husband owns a rental property on Fulton Street, which he inherited from his brother when he passed away. Both properties have good tenants and are in very good condition. They are inspected by an outside agency, not my department. I have no say in what they find or what they do. My brother is in the real estate business. He owns rentals all over town, and he pays a lot of real estate taxes. And my grandfather started out that way, so I think my brother's following in his footsteps. He's not one of the problem landlords. It's his business, and I can't control what other members of my family do. He is inspected and held accountable just like everybody else. I can supply anyone who wants it a list of the problem landlords in town, as it is public information, and you may be surprised who they are. Also, I have instituted a zero-tolerance policy for code violations, and it's working. And as far as Section 8 goes, I am the first commissioner who has ever enforced the regulations governing Section 8 properties. If they violate any of the things, if they are in violation, we are reporting them to HUD and the local Section 8 agencies. Then it's out of the city's hands. The issuing agency is responsible to conduct a hearing and revoke the certificate if it is warranted. This step has never been taken in the history of Millville's Code Enforcement Department. It's also been rumored that I am against the College Arts and Innovation Center under construction on High and Vine Streets. This is untrue. I am not against it. I was against the deal that was negotiated by the previous commissioners. Under the terms of that deal, the Cumberland County Improvement Authority and Merck are going to make a lot of money. The city makes nothing, even though the city paid millions during the pre-development of that building. This is never talked about. The city's getting no money for the building, and in fact lost an additional $20,000 because by law the city had to pay for the inspections that were done. We had to pay the employees to conduct them, and they did not have to pay permit fees. No real estate taxes will be paid on the building. We asked that the city had asked the city would get a nominal payback in the form of a pilot on the building based on the CCIA and Merck's profits. They said no. That is why I voted no. Our job is to look after the entire city and make sure that these deals are fair to the entire city. There was an independent audit that was done on my apartment, and it proved that the employees were not doing their jobs in rental inspections, monitoring the foreclosure properties, issuing building permits, and giving out loans. The loan situation is being referred for a criminal investigation. The people involved are those that are spreading the rumors, and this is all spelled out in the forensic audit in depth and is available to the public if anyone wants to see it. The misuse of these funds has cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been used to make the city cleaner and safer. I'm happy to discuss and document anything and everything that I have done since becoming a commissioner in 2014. All you have to do is ask me. And with that, progress for me.
Okay, well, I found the events.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm not going to make a joke, but I guess I kind of just did. We have the young tree pruning thing again on November 12th at 10:30 a.m. at the library. If you want to learn how to prune trees, please come out. The Christmas parade is Friday, November 25th at 7 p.m. on High Street, and the theme is Christmas Through the Ages, celebrating 150 years of Christmas traditions in Millville. And Sam, I know you're watching, so I hope I'm doing this with enough excitement for you. We also have the Remember Me ceremony. That's the 11th annual Remember Me ceremony, the National Children's Candle Lighting Ceremony. It's going to be held at
Usually at the Legion.
At the Legion, yeah. We'll get that at the end on Sunday, December 11th. Sorry about that. And the Holly City Walking Club will be held every Tuesday and Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30 at Lakeside. Middle school, and if there's no school, there's no walking as a school, will be closed. Additionally, you got the one individual had asked for if people wanted to volunteer. The way to do that is now on the website. So, Mr. Selt, I don't know if you're here, I don't see it, but we did put that on the website so they can figure out who to call when they click on that how do I volunteer thing.
Okay.
That's about all I have.
And now, whoever would like to ask us a question, you feel free to come up to the mic. Well, if
That
you
way
want
people
TV,
can hear you that are on
because
TV.
it is in theory on TV.
But you can yell if you want.
If you want to
It's all
yell,
yours.
I can repeat your question if you prefer. Okay.
My question is, for Mr. Suey, the fine is for the, you're talking about the water prosecuting that case. Why would you go to the county prosecutor? Why wouldn't the state get involved with that?
Well, the state may,
Do you
but
want repeat the question, Joe, just in case? Yeah.
The question is, why would you have the county investigate that? Why not go to the state, because you know what's gonna happen if it goes to the county? It's the same thing that's happening tonight. If they're not here to represent us in this game for our citizens, and they're not here to represent, why would you go to the county level knowing how people are appointed there as well? Why wouldn't you take us above that instead of wasting your time?
you know what? You make a good point. The question was, why don't we take that to the state as well, or instead of the county, because of the county probably will just
The investigation.
the investigation for the criminal matter. And you know what? I will send it to both. We didn't vote on it, but that doesn't stop me from visiting anybody I want to visit. That's a good point. I appreciate that.
Boy, you all are quiet tonight. This
Come
is
on, man. You
informal.
got a chance.
And there's no 5-minute time limit. All right, I'm sorry. There might be a 5-minute time limit.
Yeah, I'd like to be a fly on the wall in a bunch of communities around this area after seeing what Millville's done with the forensic investigation. My question is, what do you think? I would like to see a forensic investigation of the CCIA. You know, how would you feel about that? You don't have to answer this. I kind of put you on a spot.
No, I'll tell you how I feel about it. I think openness in government is a very good thing, and I think the CCIA, even though they're independent, is still a government agency under the control of the county. So you need to talk to the freeholders about that.
Yeah, kind of wondering why the other two guys aren't here too. That's not a question. It's just me wondering.
I don't really have a question. I have a comment. I have the pleasure of living near one of your brother's homes.
Okay.
And I tell you, it's got nicer than a lot of people who own their homes.
Thank you.
And I wish he had a lot more of them near where I live, because I've learned one thing in my life. You can't overcome jealousy. If someone is jealous of you, no matter what you do, they're going to put you down. They're going to try to destroy you. And there's nothing you can do about it. So please continue doing what you do. Don't pay any attention to what people are saying. And I do appreciate what you two have done so much. It gives me hope that I might be able to stay here. But it depends on what happens in the upcoming election. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there a particular reason why the other two commissioners didn't show up tonight? Was it to avoid something, block something, anything that you know of, or you can't answer?
Well, I'm sure there's a particular reason. I just don't know what it is. I can't. Anything I said would be speculation.
Oh, okay. Would it have anything to do? Well, I'm going to speculate it's with the RFPs, maybe?
I don't know. If I knew, I would tell you.
I can see it in your forehead, Joe.
Thanks,
Well,
Danny.
just to clarify, though, the RFPs, it might have to do with some other things in the agenda, but the RFPs was just to put them out to bid.
Yeah.
So
it's
them not-
going to be held up if they show up next
That's
week.
true. It will stall
or-
for a couple more weeks, correct?
Okay. All right. Just figure I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, and there was a question at the work session about if it would delay things. Susan did find out for us we give it 20 days after they're advertised to be able to decide or look at them and then decide what we're going to do.
And I do appreciate you guys going to the prosecutor's office with the official misconduct. It's free. Doesn't cost anything, as opposed to us trying to find a special prosecutor or whatever you have to do.
Oh, we're still going to hire an attorney for the employee complaint. Don't get that mixed up.
You know, and under the 2C30-2, there's five criteria that it has to fit to be that. And if you go look at it, everyone can see that's. I'll take that one. I'll pretend to be a lawyer and go for that because that's easy, and it's over $200. So, and if somebody doesn't know the difference between a second degree and a third degree, if it's over the $200 or a person is harmed by it or an entity is harmed, that's 5 to 7 years. Third degree is 0 to 3 or 0 to 4. So
I forget all
there's
that stuff.
it's some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So might be part of the reason why some people aren't here.
Mary Messick here of Millville. I appreciate the fact that under a previous commission they used a grant to sit there and bring forth education to the residents through various programs. This commission had turned around and had done something similar to that. What I'm trying to figure out is how come all of a sudden it stopped and there's no more anything like how to be a landlord, how to go about buying a home, how to go about fixing one's credit. These are various programs that I know can benefit various people, and it's not a form of enabling people. It's a way of helping them help themselves.
Mary, I'll answer that if I can. I don't think you're going to like my answer, but I'm going to give you to you what I think. There are plenty of charitable organizations in this city and elsewhere, and I don't think that it's the role of your local government to do a lot of the educational things that you're talking about. I think that role belongs to charity. As you know the shape that this town is in with the pipes, the water, all that stuff that we're trying to work on and fix that up. And I believe that's our role, is to provide the services so that others can do that work that you want to do. The landlord thing, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but the bottom line is if they want to go, they're going to go. If they don't want to go, they're not going to go. The problems will still be the problems. They're not going to go to a class and say, oh, I'm going to, because basically it comes down to how they do business and their economics and how much money they want to make and what whatever their ethical guidelines are. So, charities have their place, the government has its place, and whenever we get those two mixed up, we end up in a mess.
There is an organization in town that is doing the counseling for the buying the homes and the credit presently. When I had to look at my department because the landlord-tenant class, I went to the one that the previous commission held. When I looked around the room, the landlords that were there were the ones that weren't causing any problems. So that's the problem with having those classes. It was expensive to put on. I realized it was a grant, but I looked at what I wanted to spend the money on, and in my opinion, it was strict code enforcement. Because the only way you're going to be able to get a landlord that's not doing what they should be doing to do what they need to do is to have strict code enforcement and let them know that there's a violation. We went to court. I had it when we were going to have the regular commission meeting, but I'll let you know because it relates to what you asked, Mary, without even realizing. They held a special court day for us. The previous commission and previously on the code enforcement floor, they did nothing to foreclosure properties. So we made a big effort to do that. They held a special court day. It was just for foreclosure properties. It resulted in $24,000 in fines and court costs one day. So they came, some didn't come. They fined them $1,000 each. So I believe now that the banks are going to wake up and start listening and realize that Millville is serious and we're doing things, and I think that's the only way we would do it, not by holding a class, unfortunately, by hurting them in their pocketbook. Because it's starting already. We get phone calls every day of banks. Are we in compliance now? What do we have to do? Do we owe you money? Our records say this. Oh, we still owe you more. We didn't realize. So now they're getting and they're paying. And the foreclosure, another fun fact, the foreclosure fees for this year, we have collected $205,000 this year. Before we started this program, under the previous commission, $35,000 was collected. So we're up $170,000 by following the ordinance, doing what we're supposed to do. That's a lot of money, and we will get that every year. That's not just a one-time fine. That's what should have been done. And we can use that money. That's over a cent on the tax roll. That's probably, 2.5 policemen? So we can do a lot of things with that. That maybe might be, one block on a road to fix a pipe. So unfortunately, it won't go too far that way. But that's an income that we can count on every year. We've changed the fee structure so we'll even go up more next year. So I think that's the way we have to do it. We just have to be tough and have a zero tolerance. And then once things get underway, then we can start doing the nice things. Like maybe we do have a landlord-tenant meeting, or we do start doing things that we can do that we would love to do. We just can't afford to do it now.
I appreciate your answers, and perhaps for those that have, since you said there are places that have these, maybe it would be a very good idea to get it out to the public so the public would know about it.
The name's escaping me. It's right down here at the bottom of the hill at City Hall. I can't remember what the organization, it was where the Red Cross was before. It's in that building. That's where they're doing those things.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
Joe Sutherland. I'm here as the coordinator of the Millville Municipal Alliance Committee, and just before the Christmas parade, we're going to do the Jolly Holly 5K run. And, yeah, we appreciate anybody like to come out for that. The funds that we raise from that goes to put on programs for youth in our community. I'd also like to mention that we had to cancel or postpone the pumpkin extravaganza on the 22nd, and we moved it up to last Saturday. And considering that it had been postponed, we still had a real nice turnout. And I would like to thank Mr. Davis for stopping out and visiting us at the pumpkin extravaganza. And I think that's all I have now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. You must have knew I was following you, huh? We addressed this earlier today a little bit about the professional service contracts. There's quite a laundry list of professional service contracts on the agenda for today, which we're not going to be able to address. I was just wondering if you know what the total value of those contracts are.
That's a good one.
I can get that number for you, but I don't have it at the top of my head.
Okay, the reason I mentioned is there's been a lot of concern about the campaign finance of one of my opponents for the commission seat this year. And even in the newspaper, there's been some, I think, 1 or 2 letters written about the outside influences that are contributing to his campaign and the lucrative contracts that you may get for having a friend on the commission. I was just that was my reason for asking.
I mean, I'm sure we spend over $800,000 a year on lawyers if you count labor counsel, environmental counsel, city counsel, special investigations, and
Usually, the
foreclosures.
labor attorney and the municipal attorney both make over $100,000 a year.
So we would say that's a lucrative contract.
That's a lucrative contract. Prosecutor makes 60 something, I believe, presently. Depends on what the bids come in. I'm looking at what zoning and planning board attorney do not make a lot of. That's relatively low. The highest ones are the 2 attorneys.
Okay, and now all of them, are any of them full-time work, or are they all part-time work?
The municipal attorney, well, I guess
They're all contractors.
they're contracts, so they're not employees.
Okay, there's no set amount of hours.
Correct.
Okay.
So it depends. I just want to say for the record, Mr. Russell puts a lot of time in. He's available anytime. I have a very bad habit of calling him at 8 a.m., so he's available at 8 a.m. I've also talked to him after 5 o'clock. I know when I talk to the staff, he is always available to them. I don't think that would be so with just any attorney. So we're more than getting our money's worth out of him. I think if he clocked his hours, don't do that though, Brock, because he might be very negatively surprised by what he's really making an hour. So.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make that point that most of these are part-time work and they're getting pretty fair compensation, and maybe that's the interest in my opponent's campaign.
Thank you.
Rick Morales, Mobile. The only question that I have is the follow-up from your question in reference to the hearings and stuff like that. We haven't had any feedback yet on what was successful or anything.
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
The ones for the Section 8.
We have not had feedback
Nothing yet.
They told me, unfortunately, it is at least a 9-month process.
Okay, so we're still waiting for some positive feedback on that one.
Correct.
Okay. And yeah, I did
The only thing, though, too, I think that just they know that we're doing something. I think that word spreads because we were contacted. 1 or 2 had complained that we reported them.
Okay.
So the word is out that we're doing it.
Right.
And I think that helps also.
Okay. And like I said, I did bring up that question to you, Suey, about the state. I mean, the only reason why we all know it's all political, and that's how the county, they pick their personnel over there, and I just wanted to see fair. You know what I'm saying? It's a shame.
I really, truly thank you for pointing
Well,
that
the only
out.
reason why I'm bringing that out is because if you want to be fair and you want to be honest, same with all the candidates, everybody's here. We all know what's going on. But the thing is, if you're not going to bring that out, you know what I'm saying, you can do all the work you want to do here, all your homework and everything, but if it goes that route, it's just going to get shut down anyway.
I'll send it to both.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like that's the last town meeting that we did have. Tomorrow's fortunate that we are going to have our first, my first with Mary. We're going to meet up at the Cumberland Green Apartments with their management, and we're going to start their criminal watch program with there, help them out. I talked to the point of contact, which is I think Russ Hoffman. He's a lieutenant the Millville Police Department. I talked to him to let him know what was going on. We're just going to get it off the ground, have a meeting with some of their tenants and stuff like that. So that'll be our first one initially. Starts tomorrow, 6:30. And what time is it? 5 o'clock? Wow, 5 o'clock. So I'll be there at 5 o'clock. And that's a start, and that's the way we want to head this. We want to take it out that way, and this way we could branch that out to different areas and start assisting with them. So if anybody wants, anybody wants to start something in their neighborhood, or they want to get something started up, they can contact Mary or myself. We'd be more than fortunate to help them out. Like I said, this is preliminary. Then hopefully we can get the police department involved, get a few members from them to come out and assist with that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I really have to tell you who I am?
No, this is informal. You're off the hook.
Not that anybody doesn't know. So build on kind of what Bill was talking about with the professional services contract. And looking at the RFP, there's some scoring criteria, but even that criteria is really super vague. And I remember standing up here a year ago complaining about what was about to happen, and thanks to Bill, didn't happen. Glad to have Brock. Is there any movement towards being towards a more transparent scoring process?
We had gotten some sample RFPs, and I gave them to Regina. The problem, we tried to do them, and there's a lot of different categories and different types of RFPs, so we do have a different system in place for this year. I'm sure it will need...
I appreciate it.
I am sure it will still need fine-tuning, but we are trying to move in the right direction,
so it's a fair process. Do they have to be RFP'd altogether? I mean, I know it's a pain to, RFP each and every single one of those, but is that the benefit to doing it all together? Listing?
Normally, you have your reorganization meeting the first week in the new year, and so you have to be ready to make appointments. And so they sort of all do go out at the same
time. I guess just because everybody's in place until December 31st.
Right. But I guess my point is we know every year what those positions are going to be. Mm-hmm. Is there any value in kind of looking at those and setting some scoring criteria that's more specific
to each one?
To each one, so that you're not just putting out this blanket RFP. You're being more specific, and then you can tighten up those scoring criteria so that we ensure that we get good bids and not just
good point. I think we tried to gear these. Yeah, these are geared more towards the attorneys.
No, I
right,
absolutely.
and then, but there will definitely, because I could see when we were going over, and you just can't think of all the possibilities and all the different ways to do things. So I know there will be some fine tuning, and this, I guess, will probably be like a test year.
Because I'd really like to see us be able to provide within that scoring the ability to incentivize local firms like Brock, and I know it can be done because I've, as a consultant, bid on stuff where the guy that was a local got more points than I did just because he was a local, but because it was in the RFP language, it was permissible.
I think we might have done that, and in the past, before last year, it always was the municipal attorney was supposed to be from the city of Millville. And that kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit last year, so we'll see what happens this year.
Is there any benefit to a municipal pay-to-play ordinance?
We can't supersede state law anyway, so.
Yeah, and when I look at, there's so much gray area in the state law because I try, and it doesn't even make logical sense to me, the state law. It just, there's so many loopholes and way to get around. And when I look at who has contributed and who has been appointed in the city over the years, and it was all legal.
Right.
I mean, the state law is really just a joke to make everybody think they're doing something, make them feel good. It really isn't worth it. The paper it's written on.
Well, if we had a New Jersey election law enforcement commission that could actually do something.
Well, the governor would have to appoint somebody, wouldn't he?
Sweeney's blocking it. So, no, I would just like to be able to tighten up that language, and we have a year to look at what the RFPs could look like, that we can tighten it and make sure that in tightening it, maybe we could exclude out some of that pay-to-play stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
I have no time limit. I could talk all night.
Well, I don't know, Commissioner Suey.
I don't have to say anything else. My name.
Well, you know what? This is not a real meeting. I can leave when I want, so take your time.
I've done this before. I've talked to invisible empty chairs before in here, in these chambers. So I'll do it again for just a moment. To say I'm disgusted, angry, embarrassed that our city and the ones who continue to pound their fists about unity and divisiveness conveniently and, in my opinion, purposefully, strategically chose to not show up at the last meeting before an election is disgusting. I'm just embarrassed. And they should be ashamed. Ashamed. I thank you both very, very much for always being here. And always being there when I have a question. When I very first moved here to Millville, from a very far away place, I too had rented from your brother. Didn't know a Pareca from a Mr. Brown. Didn't know what he was. Wasn't particularly happy. My house was fine. My house was totally fine. I didn't like my neighborhood. Wasn't anything to do with him. And I moved, of all places, and bought a house on Pareca Drive. And now I live in the 3rd Ward. I never, just for the record, I never had a problem renting from your brother.
Thank you.
And I lived on 3rd and F when I first moved here. So yeah, that's why I didn't like the neighborhood. It had nothing to do with your brother, but my house was fine. He had replaced the roof. He had maintained everything. Everything was great, and that's where my daughter moved to when she was 15 days old. So, I want to address what Mary's comment was about the thing, so hopefully I can help her. There are things that go on that don't require city funding to do, and this is one person I'm going to give you a name of, or anybody else who's listening, but you can go anywhere. Realtors work a lot, especially here, with USDA loans and things like that, and how to educate people. HUD also has a program that helps people get from Section 8 into housing. So there are federal programs that help people to do that. But Heather Limbeck is a realtor here in Millville, and I know she specifically focuses on trying to find housing and loan programs and things like that for low-income people. So I don't necessarily think that that's a service that necessarily needs to be required, because there are people who, profit off the real estate market, and they're more than willing to also help to advise people who are low income, have credit issues, and that sort of thing, to advise them through that process. And again, I'm taking all this time because I can. I never get to.
You gave everybody power.
You
right?
did it.
I did it.
So yeah, there's like the Sapphire National Program, where they have grants and things like that. And a lot of, like I said, the local realtors, Heather Limbeck is one that I know of, but I'm sure that there are others, so if you don't have to go to her. But if someone's interested in learning about it, the information is there. I'm just dizzied by all this. I have no desire to ever... I am a single mom, pierced and tattooed. I have no desire to ever sit in one of those chairs. I'm not here for that. I'm here because I really care about this city. Maybe I don't really care about this city. Maybe I'm just stuck here. I don't know. But I'm going to fight for it as long as I'm here. And I wish that some others wouldn't. I find it very convenient that there's certain people here. Oh, I wanted to defend myself as well about something that happened at the town hall meeting. I was the only person who was attacked at that meeting. Not a single candidate was attacked at that meeting. Not a single person who posed a question was attacked. I was attacked by one candidate, Mr. Malone. And I need to clarify that. His reply to me was a lie. and he refused to answer my question. I think that's really important because I promise everybody in this room and everybody watching and everybody up there that I will come for him every single meeting if he ever sits in that chair. He lied on me. He attacked me in a blatant lie and then refused to answer my question in a town hall vying for my vote. My question was legitimate. It was equal for all three of the candidates. And his choice to lie about me and to attack me publicly is something I will not soon forget. And again, I thank Commissioner Sui and Dr. Campari for being here and allowing us the opportunity to speak our minds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question. It was brought to my attention about a possible drug halfway house being across the street from Wood School. Do we have any type of information? Is this going to be an outpatient, inpatient?
It is a residential. What they're looking at, it's coming before the zoning board. I had those two announcements here also. Let me get that for you so I don't mess up the dates. What's going on is it's Hendricks House. It's called Hendricks House. It's going to come before the zoning board on December 1st. And what they want to do, I believe they've already gone through the program, and they are going to be residential in the convent portion, and they go to work each day, and they're there. They're just not ready to go out on their own in the community. So they have to do a presentation at the zoning board. It is open to the public. It's at 6:30. It is here in this room. Anyone is welcome to come and hear what they have to say. And you are allowed to speak at zoning board meetings and to voice an opinion.
Okay. Because I just think it's a bad idea since that's drug alley.
Yeah, the zoning board gets to make that decision.
But is there any way in the future, because I was reading that Bethlehem, Pennsylvania actually had an ordinance not to allow any of these facilities within 1,000 feet of any public playgrounds or schools. Is there any way we can look into it to possibly do it?
We are in the process. The first step is the master plan. So we're almost done that. That should be presented in December so the public can talk about it one more time. Then we go on to change the zoning ordinances. So if the public has any concerns or anything they would like us to look at, you're more than willing to submit that, and we will consider it, and we can see if that fits in with what's going on. And I guess the attorneys would have to tell us legally what we can do and can't do.
Okay.
That process is going to start in January, Tim, so if you're interested.
Another thing to add on my calendar.
Yeah, add that on to the list. And then I know other people were interested, too. At the planning board meeting on November 15th, Dollar General is going to bring their application in, and that's on Tuesday night. It's at 6:30. So if anyone's interested in attending that. It's the Dollar General out on West Main Street.
I just want to give you guys a quick update on Code Blue, and want to let you know that we are officially in season. We're in the process of getting the cots removed from storage to set up at Trinity United Methodist. We had a very successful fundraiser the other day that we raised quite a bit of money that's going to be put toward Housing First, which is more the permanent solution to the homeless issue that we have here. We had double the amount of people show up for that breakfast, which was great. We had a great support. And I also wanted to offer it up to everybody. We do need volunteers. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to m25initiative.org. And when you click on Code Blue tab, you can sign up to be a volunteer. Let me personally say that I've heard and I've confronted people about the rumors that Code Blue is now getting government money. It is not true. The minute I find out that Code Blue is getting government money, I will resign immediately. I'm going on record saying it, and I'm making a proclamation in front of everyone here and television that if that happens, I'm done.
What do you mean money from the? What do you mean by government money?
In other words, there is something that the government is trying to do here in the state that what Dr. Weinstein was telling me was, I think it's Van Drew, that they put forth a bill to write to mandate that all the counties in New Jersey would have some sort of Code Blue program, with the exception of they're not telling you how to run it, but you have to have one. Okay? If that crosses lines and they start demanding things out of us, or they start funneling money into the program, if you would, I'm done.
I do have a question for you. The CDBG grant had approved $5,000 for Code Blue, and they just came back and told us they didn't want it.
Rob, that was Rob's decision.
Okay.
He didn't want that. So
because we had given it for COTS, so
I know.
Okay.
I believe me, Lynn. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I went back to him. I have to answer to what he's
No,
telling
that's
me.
fine. I just didn't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I also want to say on a side note that every time my wife and I have been up here, I have no agenda. The only agenda we have is we want people to have hope. And I know that political season, it gets really hot and heavy. I also know that it's no dark secret that my face is plastered on a mailer supporting a certain candidate. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, nor do I want to know. I, like Commissioner Suey had said, have a right to voice who I believe I want to support as a candidate. I also love Bill Davis. I love Bob Osler. I felt at the time that it was something that I wanted to do. By no means did I want to throw my name in the mix of politics and things that go on behind the scenes to hurt someone, help someone, whatever. Our hope, at least my job is on this earth until I die, is to lead people to Jesus Christ. And I know that there's some people that are angry about what I've done or have questioned or whatever. I'm a big boy. I can take it. But before God, tonight, I'm telling all of you, we have a homeless problem. We have drug issues. We have hurting people out there. I don't really have time to get into all this. I want to help people. I want to help make a difference. And you're right, Commissioner Suey. Unity is kind of the pie in the sky, right? And I do agree with you. We do need to talk about issues openly and honestly, and sometimes that means war. That I have no problem with. But at the end of the day, what I loved what you guys did, I watched it on YouTube, which, by the way, was really cool. You finally had that out there. Was I love the fact that that night, what I saw was about ShotSpotter. Something got done. Now, whether or not it goes further or whatever, and whether people agree or disagree, I watched how the four of you worked together, and I thought, wow, that was really cool. And there was difference of opinions, and not everybody was for it, but it went forward. And I really commend you guys. That's my hope. That's my hope.
You know what? Really, for the disagreements that we have and the ugliness that we go through, we do get a lot of stuff done. There's a lot of stuff getting done in the city.
There have been.
So, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, there has been.
So, you know what? I can tolerate this ugliness and disagreement. In the end, it works out pretty well because you get opposing viewpoints and you have to reach compromise.
But that's what I'm saying. And it happens in church world and it happens in the community. We're not always going to all agree.
No, you're absolutely right.
And that's fine. That's what makes us a free country and it makes us individuals. My heart has always been, okay, so what do we do with the main issues and try to work together with those opposing views to try to move the ball forward. And one of the things that when Code Blue came into our lap, I watched the community get together all over to help. And it's not about me or my wife or anybody else. It's about seeing that and seeing partnership and so forth just warms my heart. And by the way, there's 3 people last year that we had as guests that are now serving. They're now signing up as volunteers. They've gotten on their feet. And as I said, and I'll close with this, when I spoke at the breakfast, if it's one person that one more time their head hits the cot and they make a decision that night to change their life, then it was worth it all. So I just want to commend both of you. I'm personally sickened by politics. And I'm not going to name names or anything else because I love all you guys. I just can't stand it. I don't know how you guys do it. But I'm just praying and hoping that when we get to Election Day and we move past this, that we really, really continue to start working toward. There's a lot of good things that are going on. And Lynn, I commend you for all the work that you've done with those houses. you have put forth a lot of effort to do that. And I know you get slammed for it sometimes, but I really do appreciate your aggressiveness with trying to make a difference, and you are. So I just want everybody to know that I want to see something done in the city. That's what it's all about. I don't want to be drawn into this. I don't want any part of it. My wife and I don't want any part of it whatsoever. I just want to do something right.
If I had my choice, I wouldn't be in the politics part of it either. I would just be up here working.
I know.
And I have to admit, I was very naive coming in. I didn't realize all that would be involved politically.
Yeah.
So I try to stay clear and keep my head down and move forward with the goal in sight.
Well, I just want to, go on record to say that to you guys. I hope we just start working together.
I don't really understand it. I have to be honest. I think we are working together. When I look at what we do, we've had, I think, 3 major disagreements. It was on the college building, and that just had to do with the money in the deal. We didn't think, it was not that we didn't want the college building, so that was the big one. So It was a big ticket item. The other one was 15th Street, when they built 15th Street, because that was a $3 million project in a time when $3 million could have gone a different way. And I think the third one was Doug Long.
And the sewer plant, when we scaled that back.
And we scaled down the sewer plant. When we scaled down the sewer plant, we saved $4 million. So we disagreed on that, and I know that a couple of the commissioners weren't happy, but it was never that we didn't want to do it. It's that we have to get the best possible deal. So if that's not getting along, then I would do that in a minute. Yeah. The Doug Long thing, I could have missed that and would have much rather have been in New Hampshire or pick a state, I don't know, than go through that. Yeah. That's the part of the politics that we don't like, and I think that was the ugliest part in my mind of what happened in the past 3 years. But besides that, we're fixing roads, we're fixing drainage. Columbine Avenue, how long did that sit there? That's done. We got the engineering report. The water's all hooked up. I think there's a couple little things to do, and they have to fix some of the roads. But we got that done, and that's been like that for 15 years or some god-awful amount of time. They're working on Marlin Terrace. So, Mr. Bruno, they're making some progress on that, hopefully. And over on Rhonda Drive, they just found out what one of the major issues were. And all that stuff should have been done before, and we've been taking care of that together. And we've been working really hard with the police. Commissioner Suey's finding the money. And, the mayor's telling him what he needs, and we're trying to accommodate him. So that's working together. And if I have to argue about saving $4 million, I will do that every day of the week. It's just the way it is.
That's what I said, I have no issue with that. That's part of it. I guess sometimes when it gets really, really personal, it turns your stomach, and it looks like divisiveness. I'm not saying it is.
No, you're okay to say it. I'm okay with it. It is.
It looks like a family argument, like I'm sitting at my dinner table and my kids are arguing over, you get my point.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for your work with Code Blue.
Robert Barrett, Millville. I really need somebody to intelligize me because it sure as hell seems like someone's been stealing water from the indigenous people of Millville, and it's just not cool. I'm not down with that. Tim brought up an interesting point about the halfway house. I did a lot of time in halfway houses. I did four visits in halfway houses, and I was part of the problem at one time. And I don't think that a halfway house is good for Millville right now. I spent time in Hendrick's house, and it was no problem getting in drugs, alcohol, women, whatever you wanted. You could sneak out the window in your room. You could walk right out the front door. Go down to the bar down the street. Do whatever you wanted. That and it was no big deal to be sitting at the dinner table with your fellow residents talking about what happened during the day, and you look out the window and you see one of your fellow residents jumping a fence to get away from a parole officer. That really does happen, and even as good of a program as Hendrick's House, it happened there. Escapes happen on a regular basis in Kintock and Bridgeton. We don't need to mirror this. We don't need to tie up more of our police resources looking for these people when they decide to just walk out. We have enough problems of our own. And, like I said, hey, it's not the not in my backyard attitude. It's that this isn't the proper thing for Millville right now. We got to get our stuff together. That and as far as the college on High Street goes, it's bad enough that we got a bad deal out of it. We're not going to see any money from it. And another thing is that I know for a fact when addicts clean up their lives, one of the first things they do is they want to look at making their lives better. So I don't know what the numbers are, but a good percentage of them, I would gamble, further their education. And a block away from this place, you've got one of the worst drug sets in Millville. You can get whatever you want down there. I pulled on to Oak Street, right at 2nd Street, and if I had a badge and gun, somebody would have been in trouble because I saw a drug deal go right down in front of my eyes. And we gotta fix this. Before that college opens, we have to fix this problem. It just doesn't make any sense. You're throwing these addicts, and I know the decision is ultimately up to them, but you're throwing these addicts in the middle of the war zone again. And not even a block away, if they wanted to just ditch their class and get high, it's right there. There's nothing stopping them. And, I know that there's been raids conducted on that block, but over the course of the years, the problem has just been allowed to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And, there's dealers that are taking over the spots an hour after the cops leave. Literally, an hour after the cops leave, they're setting shop back up again, and it's business as usual. So something's really got to be done before we go sinking all these hopes and dreams into places that you're setting a lot of people up for failure. And that's about all I have, I guess. It's a shame that, the mayor couldn't show up for tonight. This is a very important meeting. This is very important charges against Commissioner Ennis. And the fact that he isn't here, there's only one candidate for the open city commission seat here to find out what the hell's going on. That should really tell people where the priorities are. That, and I'm also concerned because, so we have a Democratic-leaning commissioner, and this investigation will be handed off to a Democratic-leaning prosecutor. Oh, I said something maybe I shouldn't have. Just something to think about. All right.
And if you'd like to talk at the zoning board meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good evening. George Cooper. Joe, you had to be sitting on the other side of this dais. I've seen more problems develop in these 5 seats in the last 3 years or 2 years. I can't see how you can say we're all working together. As far as these 2 gentlemen not showing up the week before these elections, with all these other important things going on, it just amazes me. I see humor in it. Not really. How they can try and avoid these things being dealt with by not showing up is blatant. I hate career politicians. I don't like politicians to begin with, but career politicians I can't stand. Both of these gentlemen at one time or another have discussed with me or through other people their desires to go on in political jobs. Mayor Santiago, I believe, is trying to become sheriff. I hope as sheriff, if he does run for it, that he won't avoid situations like this. You've got to address them. Reverend Ennis, I don't know anything about his water bill, but you alluded to the fact that it was in fact Ennis because it was served to his church. He looks like a very well put together gentleman with obviously some money in his pocket. Why in the world did he let this thing go the way it is? And Joe, what are you going to do? I mean, are they going to serve him with some kind of papers, or?
We'll turn it over to the legal authorities, prosecutor of the state now. Perhaps I'll send it up there, and they'll do whatever they do. They'll do an investigation, and whatever they find out. They may say, you didn't do anything wrong. It's okay to do this stuff. And they may say, yeah, you did do something wrong. And I don't know what's going to happen. It's beyond my...
What happens if we decide to send it to the freeholders or the prosecutor in Bridgeton as opposed to the state, and they just decide that it's not worth addressing?
Well, I have the information, so I will make sure that the state gets it.
Oh, so in other words, you are getting the state involved.
I will. I'll make sure that they get it. Somehow I'll make sure the Attorney General's office get it or whatever.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting as to whether or not these gentlemen show up during the next meeting.
Oh, I'm sure they'll be here after
And
the election.
I would hope, I would hope.
Well, we would hope the new person would come so we'd have a quorum with or without them, so it'll be okay.
I would honestly hope that the Daily Journal, who is present, will put something in the paper concerning this. This is ridiculous. And thank you very much for your time.
No pressure, Joe, there. Did you hear your orders?
And Mr. Cooper, the one thing, we're getting stuff done. I don't know. Sometimes we don't. We work against each other, but we are getting stuff done. But we do work together on occasion.
I just have one point to make, and before I make it, I need to say I'm speaking as a resident. My opinions are my opinions and not reflective of my seat on the school board. Let me just say that. We have our alternative school at St. Mary's.
Yes.
I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah. So I don't know. The school board should be aware, I guess, that
They should have gotten a 200-foot notice, right?
I'm sorry.
They should have gotten a 200-foot notice because of Wood School. Would Wood School be within 200 feet?
Yeah, should. So, yes, I can check on that and make sure that they were properly noticed, and then they're welcome to come and speak and voice their concerns.
My opinion.
Yeah.
Let me just say it. Where's the camera?
But I mean,
Kim Cardy's opinion.
Correct. But if the school board is so inclined, they are welcome to also come. But I'll check. But I'm sure they're pretty good about checking that everybody's noticed and everything's okay.
But I don't know if the school board would be noticed because they're not. Well, I guess they would be if Wood School's close enough. But they wouldn't be noticed because of their occupancy at St. Mary's, I would assume.
No, I think Wood School would cover them, though. I think you're right about that.
Okay.
Another vulnerable population right next to something.
I would really like to volunteer for Code Blue, but I'm scared. I'm scared to go into that neighborhood. And I have never felt nervous coming down 49, like where Joe lives, coming home. But a couple of weeks ago, we were at the casino, and we didn't get home till like 10:30. And we're driving down 49, and I said to my husband, we could be shot any minute. And now I'm scared to go. I never would go downtown for the last couple of years, unless it was like a group of people or something. So it's a sin. You live in a place where you really fear to do the things you would really like to do. But that being said, that's just me, and maybe I'm chicken, I don't know. And maybe I'm just old and don't have the drive I used to have. But I don't know if you and Joe realize this, but everybody throws all you commissioners in the same basket, especially on social media. And they blame you two for the crime issue in the city. Maybe it'd be a good idea to explain to them that you have no control over the crime because that's a separate department. It's not your department. You both do very good and do a lot in your own departments. If somehow you could take over the other department and do all those miracles.
There's a law against that, so we can't do that.
Well, maybe you could just change seats for a while. Or I don't know. But, I think you should explain why you guys cannot control that department like people, I guess, expect you to. Because I'm always defending it and saying, they can't do it because it's not their department. You don't overstep and do that. So if you maybe be able to explain that it's not you.
Yeah, I mean, in my department, I've tried to do as much as I can to help public safety. So we enforce the ordinances. We've torn down the houses. Right. We've torn down close to 50. The other set of demolitions will be starting hopefully next week. So all those things go into play to help the police. We're working with them with squatters. We're working with them on the excessive use of services. So we're really trying to work with them. I know you can talk about you've helped them with the budget.
Yeah, you're a supportive role, but
right.
I think they think you can stop the crime. I mean, you don't have any control over the police.
The mayor's responsible for the budget in his department along with the chief. And ultimately, though, the chief is responsible for the day-to-day activities of the police department, and even the mayor cannot interfere with that. It's just the way it's set up. So our hands are tied somewhat, but I think we are trying to work together. It's just going to take time. I was looking back through some notes, and the same issues about crime they were talking about in 2009 and what they were trying to do to help the crime and how it was built up. I think then it was in the 3rd Ward, and it was around Arlene Village, which they tore down, and that was the issue that cleaned that up. But the problem was they relocated a lot of the residents over to 3rd to 6th Street. So we took a problem, cleaned up one area, and then just moved it and picked it up and plopped it in someplace else. So that's been a problem. So we're trying to get a handle on it, changing the zoning, because we're also going to try to cut down the density. We're trying to cut down the number of units that can be in it. So if someone goes in and buys a half a double, where they're not going to be allowed to turn it into 2 apartments anymore. We're trying to maintain that's going to be single-family residence. So that's all the purpose of the master plan. That's the purpose of changing the zoning ordinances come January, and we're trying to keep that moving along. We've had some pushback a little bit on it from some people, but hopefully that'll pass, and that'll be up in December, because we really have to cut the density and stop this turning it in an old Victorian home into 5 apartment buildings. So that's the goal. Right. And that'll all help with crime.
Absolutely.
So, but they're little pieces. To me, it's a big problem, but there's a lot of little pieces, and we're chipping away at it. And I think we're doing a good job at chipping away, and it's just going to be when we get that one big piece that's going to make it all tumble down. Right. So hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Go ahead. Say it again?
The Housing Improvement Authority, isn't there a position available there that we're still trying to fill that seat? There's a landlord's appointed seat.
The Housing Authority or the Housing Improvement Authority?
Housing Improvement Authority.
What's the I don't know what that. You talking about the Millville Housing Authority?
Is there an open seat for that one? Or?
There is a seat. The mayor does the appointments. There is a seat that's open that the governor did appoint someone.
Do we know where we stand with that so far?
It is tied up in the DCA. We're waiting for the DCA to send the final down, and then hopefully that will move forward. Anybody else?
Real quick, I think you can hear me from here. You keep looking at me, Joe.
Yeah, I know you want to say something else, Dan. I know you want to say something else.
Tonight, I agree with you that no matter what elected or appointed or state position that you hold, you never give up your right to free speech at all. I think that the Democratic Party tonight has made a political statement concerning the regular commission meeting, even though this is pretty much a town hall meeting. I think which gives me the right by them making a political statement that I can sort of make one, but it'll be quick. At the Legion, the other night we had the regular town hall meeting. We had the 3 candidates, Osler, Davis, and Malone. Questions went normal for a while. I was pretty proud of Davis and Osler, even though I don't know Osler at all, because when they were asked questions that they didn't know the answers to, smoke wasn't blown up my ass. They go,
You're on TV, Dan. You're on TV, Dan.
Oh, sorry. Wreck 'em. Thanks, Bill, for not doing that. And then we had Donna Brazil moment at the meeting. Stephen Dubnock, same age as my youngest, asked a question that pertained to the railway infrastructure in Cumberland County. He went to school with my son. My son doesn't give a rat's behind about anything like that because of his age. I feel sorry for Steve. This is only my opinion now, but I thought that he was fed that question, sort of Brazil-like. William and the Reverend said, I don't know. Well, I think Bill said, I think that the trains haul sand, because that's what they've done for forever. And I don't know of anything else that they do haul down here. And then Mr. Malone comes up with, I got just the scenario for that. And I'm like, where did this come from? So just for everybody to be aware, that is my opinion. I don't know if you caught that, but I want to say that that's the Donna Brazil moment of last Thursday night. But good job, Bill. Thanks not for lying to us. That's it. I'm done.
Anybody else have anything? Oh.
I don't think they should. Why does it have to be open if we wanted it made available to the public? We can give out anything we want, right? If I want to make a piece of information public, I can give it out, correct?
Can it just be put
Doesn't-
online? Is there a legal reason it can't be put online? Or the PowerPoint put online?
Well, let me think about that and give you a.
Because the PowerPoint at least probably could be put online, correct?
Brock, please
Well, I
don't
see
take
why
too
not.
long, or I'll
It's
just
already-
do it, and then we'll have to clean the mess up,
It
okay?
was played at a public meeting, so
Yeah.
I think it's that's already out there.
Yeah. So you can see if you think it can be put online. Okay. Correct. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
I've never spoke in front of people like this before, but I can't keep quiet any longer. Personally, I am very shocked that these two are not here tonight. I'm very disappointed in the mayor. I know why he's not here tonight. About the Hendricks house, that's what I'll bring up first, is that some people don't know when the guys come into our community out of a Hendricks house, a lot of them belong to drug court. And in that program, they require that everyone live in Cumberland County. So it brings guys from Atlantic County, Ocean County, Camden County that have done their crimes. And, they get brought here, put into our prison system, and then are told to stay in this area. A lot of these gentlemen are left on their own with no family. Their families are like in these other counties. I run the Taylor's Rooming House with my husband, and I rent to several gentlemen that have come out of the Hendricks house, Kintox. I have 6 tenants right now. Some of these guys struggle with having to stay here where they have no family, no support on getting off of drugs and things like that. The Hendricks house is stupid to put it in the middle of the hood, the drug area. It is ridiculous to do that. We own a property across the street from there. I'm scared to go over there and collect my rents. I make my tenants bring it to my home now because of the landlord being shot over there. We seen 2 young boys lose their life over there 2 summers ago, shot right in front of us across the street from that property. I've had it with that property over there. I'm willing to give it away to someone, just donate it, because I don't want anything to do with it, especially if the Hendricks house comes over there. This is a big mistake. People need to, it's not because they're drug addicts or they've been in trouble. Like I said, I rent to these guys, and it's just not a good thing. It's bringing families into our county that shouldn't be here. Let them go back to their own counties. Some of their families move here to our county because their son is here and they don't have no one to depend on. So, that I wanted to touch on that. I'm very nervous. The other thing is, I wanted to ask this gentleman in the Blue program, is Commissioner Ennis still involved with that? Because I know he was when it first.
Just to clarify, Reverend Ennis allowed us to use both church facilities because he does pastor a church. There's actually one that was before the office, but it was
Right.
small, and then we used the building that was resurrected right across from us. And then we take turns with different churches to volunteer, and strictly volunteer
Well, I remember, he had come to me personally to my home in February of this year and had asked me for a donation to pay the electric bill over there. And then just a couple weeks later, I met you through this lady over here, Christine, one of my friends. You had come into my restaurant to ask me to, help donate food and stuff. But I had learned from you at that time that Pastor Ennis did not actually let you use that building because he had leased it out or something. So that you had to rent another space on Wheaton Avenue. So now I'm personally PISSED because now all this is coming out, and he swindled me out of a little bit of money because I thought I was helping to pay electric bill for the Code Blue program, but obviously I wasn't. So then I'm really glad that he came tonight and got to hear all these dates of notices that he was served.
Can I answer that, though? What we do is that when you make a donation, churches, whoever volunteers to use their church as a warming station, we actually reimburse. N25 takes donation money and reimburses the churches for their heating bill.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever is using, whatever church we're using, however many days they use, I think it's like $120 a day, $130, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of these churches that we're using, they have such a small congregation, they're barely hanging on by a thread. And
Right.
we're operating all night long, we're using the heat that they wouldn't normally have thrown on. So that money actually gets funneled right back to whoever that church is. Now, if you're saying that he personally said something, I can't answer for that.
Right, and I don't know why you're trying to, I appreciate you letting us know where, this and that goes, but this did not go to that building. I know it didn't, okay?
Right,
Yeah, I know it didn't. And then I get to come here tonight and I get to hear of all these dates that he was served notices and default notices, and then it finally got shut off. And, if there's a law against a commissioner coming to someone's home personally to ask them for money for a donation to sue the city and the people that he works with, then I want to be a witness. I want to be called. Because I'm tired of this man hiding behind a Bible, hiding behind his church, and hiding behind, he tried to hide behind me. And I'm mad. And I'm mad. And if I could be used in any kind of investigation on Pastor Ennis, I can't even get away with calling him pastor. I've been friends with that man for years. He married me and my husband. And it's sickening that he's even allowed to sit in that chair. I'm glad he's not here tonight because I'd probably be arrested if he was. I really would. And I would pay the fine. I brought the money with me tonight to do it. Seriously. And you two, I didn't even vote for you two.
Well, thank you.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I did
we
not.
appreciate
And
that.
I'm ashamed to say that now. I really am. But, I'm going to keep coming to these meetings. I'm going to keep getting involved. We have a lot of properties here in Millville, and I do commend you for everything that you have done for these properties here in Millville. I really, really do. And one day, she said she's pierced and tattooed, and so am I, and we could all do this all together one day. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? So I guess we have ending comments.
All right. Well, it is Election Day coming up next week, and I'll be glad when it's over so I don't have to watch the stuff on TV and put up with all the bull crap. So go vote. Think about what you're doing. You made a good point. Make sure you get what you think you're getting. Don't be fooled. Do your research. Don't just listen to advertisements and look at advertisements, and think about it. Think real hard because really it's important. It's going to determine which way your city goes. It's going to determine which way your country goes. So figure it out and go vote. And I'm done.
I was going to talk about the election, too. To me, this is a very important election. It's going to determine what direction the city is going to go into. There are candidates. There's 3 candidates for the city commission. They are all very different. Prior to our taking office, I just want everyone to remember, city taxes were increased 13 cents in the 4 years prior to us taking office. They did it in the first 2 years, so people didn't remember close to election time in the second 2 years. We have held taxes at zero, and we found money. I think we've done a good job, and we made a lot of improvements without having to raise taxes, and I would like to see that continue. So think about your vote. This election will determine if we're going to continue to spend wisely and improve Millville or return to the good old boys club and all the misuse of the taxpayers' money that came with it. Also, Commissioner Sui and I are holding another town meeting. We didn't realize this was going to be a town meeting, and we have one scheduled for tomorrow night. So anyone watching, if they want to come out, or you all are welcome to come again. It's going to be tomorrow night, November 2nd, at Rick Avenue School Cafeteria, and that's going to be at 6:30. And then Commissioner Sui and I will be on the radio again on November 12th after the election, so that may be interesting.
Maybe.
We'll see. And that's at 11 a.m. It's 92.1. It's a question and answer show, so you're welcome to call in and ask us anything again. And the call-in number is 856-696-0092. I appreciate a lot of you came out tonight. I kind of like the town meeting better than regular meetings. I hope, yeah, I know. So I hope you all, I appreciate the questions. I appreciate you being honest with us. I hope we were able to answer your questions, and hopefully there will be a commission meeting. Next time it's on a Monday. It's weird. Next time it's November 14th. So hopefully we will have a meeting then, and we will be able to welcome the new commissioner. Thank you. Have a good night.